Mistress Merciless, of Christmas Tales and Christmas Verse. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Leanne. Christmas Tales and Christmas Verse by Eugene Field. Mistress Merciless. This is to tell of our little Mistress Merciless, who for a season abided with us, but is now and forever gone from us unto the far-off land of Ever-Placence. The tale is soon told, for it were not seemly to speak all the things that are in one's heart when one hath to say of a much-beloved child, whose life here hath been shortened so that, in God's wisdom and kindness, her life shall be longer in that garden that bloometh far away. You shall know that all did call her Mistress Merciless, but her mercilessness was of a sweet, persuasive kind, for with the beauty of her face and the music of her voice and the exceeding sweetness of her virtues was she wont to slay all hearts. And this she did unwittingly, for she was a little child. And so it was in love that we did call her Mistress Merciless, just as it was in love that she did lord it over all our hearts. Once upon a time walked she in a full fair garden, and there went with her a handmaiden that we did call in merry wise the Queen of Sheba. For this handmaiden was in sooth no queen at all, but a sorry and ill-favoured wench. But she was assotted upon our little Mistress Merciless, and served her diligently, and for that good reason was vastly beholden of us all. Yet, in a jest, we called her the Queen of Sheba, and I make a venture that she looked exceedingly fair in the eyes of our little Mistress Merciless, for the eyes of children look not upon the faces but into the hearts and souls of others. Whilst these two walked in the full fair garden, at that time they came presently upon an arbour, wherein there was a rustic seat, which was called the Siege of Restfulness. And hereupon sate a little sick boy that, from his birth, had been lame, so that he could not play and make merry with other children, but was wont to come every day into this full fair garden, and content himself with the companionship of the flowers. And, though he was a little lame boy, he never trod upon those flowers, and even had he done so, methinks the pressure of those crippled feet had been a caress, for the little lame boy was filled with the spirit of love and tenderness. As the tiniest, whitest, shrinking flower exhaleth the most precious perfume, so in and from this little lame boy's life there came a grace that was hallowing in its beauty. Since they never before had seen him, they asked him his name, and he answered them that of those at home he was called Master Sweetheart, a name he could not understand, for surely, being a cripple, he must be a very sorry sweetheart. Yet, that he was a sweetheart unto his mother at least he had no doubt, for she did love to hold him in her lap, and call him by that name, and many times when she did so, he saw that tears were in her eyes. A proof, she told him when he asked, that Master Sweetheart was her sweetheart before all others upon earth. It befell that our little Mistress Merciless and Master Sweetheart became fast friends, and the Queen of Sheba was handmaiden to them both. For the simple, loyal creature had not a mind above the artless prattle of childhood, and the strange allegory of the lame boy's speech filled her with awe, even as the innocent lisping of our little Mistress Merciless delighted her heart and came within the comprehension of her limited understanding. So each day, when it was fair, these three came into the full fair garden, and rambled there together, and when they were weary they entered into the arbour and sate together upon the siege of restfulness. Wit ye well there was not a flower or a tree or a shrub or a bird in all that full fair garden which they did not know and love, and in very sooth every flower and tree and shrub and bird therein did know and love them. When they entered into the arbour, and sate together upon the siege of restfulness, it was Master Sweetheart's wont to tell them of the land of Ever-Placence, For it was a conceit of his that he journeyed each day nearer and nearer to that land, and that his journey thitherward was nearly done. How came he to know of that land I cannot say, for I do not know. But I am fain to believe that, as he said, the exceeding fair angels told him thereof when by night, as he lay sleeping, they came singing and with caresses to his bedside. I speak now of a holy thing, therefore I speak truth, when I say that while little children lie sleeping in their beds at night, it pleaseth God to send his exceeding fair angels with singing and caresses, to bear messages of his love unto those little sleeping children. And I have seen those exceeding fair angels bend with folded wings over the little cradles and the little beds, and kiss those little sleeping children, and whisper God's message of love to them. And I knew that those messages were full of sweet tidings, for, even though they slept, the little children smiled. This have I seen, and there is none who loveth little children that will deny the truth of this thing which I have now solemnly declared. Of that land of ever-placence was our little Mistress Merciless ever fain to hear tell. But when she beset the rest of us to speak thereof, we knew not what to say, other than to confirm such reports as Master Sweetheart had already made. For when it cometh to knowing of that far-off land, ah me, who knoweth more than the veriest little child? And oftentimes within the bosom of a little, helpless, fading one there bloometh a wisdom which sages cannot comprehend. So when she asked us, we were wont to bid her go to Master Sweetheart, for he knew the truth and spake it. It is now to tell of an adventure which on a time befell in that full fair garden of which you have heard me speak. In this garden lived many birds of surpassing beauty, and most rapturous song, and among them was one that they called Joyous, for that he did ever carol forth so joyously, it mattered not what the day soever might be. This bird Joyous had his home in the top of an exceeding high tree, hard by the pleasant arbour, and here did he use to sit at such times as the little people came into that arbour, and then would he sing to them such songs as befitted that quiet spot, and them that came thereto. But there was a full evil cat that dwelt near by, and this cruel beast found no pleasure in the music that Joyous did make continually. Nay, that music filled this full evil cat with a wicked thirst for the blood of that singing innocent, and she had no peace for the malice that was within her, seeking to devise a means whereby she might comprehend the bird Joyous to her murderous intent. Now you must know that it was the wont of our little Mistress Merciless and of Master Sweetheart to feed the birds in that fair garden with such crumbs as they were suffered to bring with them into the arbour, and at such times would those birds fly down with grateful twitterings, and eat of those crumbs upon the greensward round about the arbour. Wit ye well, it was a merry sight to see those twittering birds making feast upon the good things which those children brought, and our little Mistress Merciless and little Master Sweetheart had sweet satisfaction therein. But, on a day, whilst thus those twittering birds make great feasting, lo! on a sudden did that full evil cat whereof I have spoken steal softly from a thicket, and with one hideous bound make her way into the very midst of those birds, and seize upon that bird Joyous, that was wont to sing so merrily from the tree hard by the arbour. Oh, there was a mighty din and a fearful fluttering, and the rest flew swiftly away, but Joyous could not do so, because the full evil cat held him in her cruel fangs and claws. And I make no doubt that Joyous would speedily have met his death, but that, with a wrathful cry, did our little Mistress Merciless hasten to his rescue, and our little mistress belaboured that full evil cat with Master Sweetheart's crutch, until that cruel beast let loose her hold upon the fluttering bird, and was full glad to escape with her aching bones into the thicket again. So it was that Joyous was recovered from death, but even then might it have fared ill with him, had they not taken him up and dressed his wounds and cared for him until duly he was well again. And then they released him to do his plaisance, and he returned to his home in the tree hard by the arbour, and there he sung unto those children more sweetly than ever before, for his heart was full of gratitude to our little Mistress Merciless and Master Sweetheart. Now, of the dolls that she had in goodly number, that one which was named Beautiful did our little Mistress Merciless love best. Know well that the doll Beautiful had come not from overseas, and was neither of wax nor of china, but she was right ingeniously constructed of a bed key that was made of wood, and unto the top of this bed key had the Queen of Sheba superadded a head with a fair face, and upon the body and the arms of the key had she hung passing noble raiment. Unto this doll Beautiful was our little Mistress Merciless vastly beholden, and she did use to have the doll Beautiful lie by her side at night whilst she slept, and whithersoever during the day she went, there also would she take the doll Beautiful too. Much sorrow and lamentation, therefore, made our little Mistress Merciless when on an evil day the doll Beautiful by chance fell into the fish pond, and was not rescued therefrom until one of her beauteous eyes had been devoured of the envious water, so that ever thereafter the doll Beautiful had but one eye, and that, forsooth, was grievously faded. And on another evil day came a monster ribald dog pup, and seized upon the doll Beautiful whilst she reposed in the arbour, and bore her away, and romped boisterously with her upon the sward, and tore off her black thread hair, and sought to destroy her wholly, which surely he would have done but for the Queen of Sheba, who made haste to rescue the doll Beautiful, and chastise that monster ribald dog pup. Therefore, as you can understand, the time was right busily spent. The full fair garden, with its flowers and the singing birds, and the gracious arbour and the siege of restfulness, found favour with those children, and amid these joyous scenes did Master Sweetheart have to tell each day of that far-off land of Ever-Placence, whither he said he was going. And one day, when the sun shone very bright, and the full fair garden joyed in the music of those birds, Master Sweetheart did not come, and they missed the little lame boy and wondered where he was. And as he never came again, they thought at last that of a surety he had departed into that country whereof he loved to tell. Which thing filled our little Mistress Merciless with wonder and inquiry, and I think she was lonely ever after that, lonely for Master Sweetheart. I am thinking now of her and of him, for this is the Christmas season, the time when it is most meet to think of the children and other sweet and holy things. There is snow everywhere, snow and cold. The garden is desolate and voiceless. The flowers are gone, the trees are ghosts, the birds have departed. It is winter out there, and it is winter, too, in this heart of mine. Yet in this Christmas season I think of them, and it pleaseth me. God forbid that I offend with much speaking. It pleaseth me to tell of the little things they did and loved. And you shall understand it all if, perchance, this sacred Christmas time a little Mistress Merciless of your own, or a little Master Sweetheart, clingeth to your knee and sanctifieth your hearthstone. When of an evening all the joy of day was done, would our little Mistress Merciless fall a-weary, and then her eyelids would grow exceeding heavy, and her little tired hands were fain to fold. At such a time it was my wont to beguile her weariness with little tales of fairy, or with the gentle play that sleepy children like. Much was her fancy taken with what I told her of the train that every night whirleth away to Shut-eye Town, bearing unto that beauteous country sleepy little girls and boys. Nor would she be content until I told her thereof. Yes, every night whilst I robed her in her cap and gown would she demand of me that tale of Shut-eye Town, and the wonderful train that was to bear her thither. Then would I say in this wise: At bedtime, Vil, there is a train of cars that waiteth for you, my sweet. for you and for other little ones that would go to quiet, slumberous Shut-eye Town. But make no haste, there is room for all. Each hath a tiny car that is snug and warm, and when the train starteth each car swingeth soothingly this way and that way, this way and that way, through all the journey of the night. Your little gown is white and soft. Your little cap will hold those pretty curls so fast that they cannot get away. Here is a curl that peepeth out to see what is going to happen. Hush, little curl, make no noise. We will let you peep out at the wonderful sights, but you must not tell the others about it. Let them sleep, snuggled close together. The locomotive is ready to start. Can you not hear it? Shug, chug, shug, chug, shug, chug. That is what the locomotive is saying, all to itself. It knoweth how pleasant a journey it is about to make. Shug, chug, shug, chug, shug, chug. Oh, many a time hath it proudly swept over prairie and hill, over river and plain, through sleeping gardens and drowsy cities, swiftly and quietly, bearing the little ones to the far, pleasant valley where lieth Shut-eye Town. Shug, chug, shug, chug, shug, chug. So saith the locomotive to itself at the station in Bedtimeville, for it knoweth how fair and far a journey is before it. Then a bell soundeth. Surely my little one heareth the bell. Ding-long, ding-along, ding-long. So soundeth the bell, and it seemeth to invite you to sleep and dreams. Ding-long, ding-along, ding-long. How sweetly ringeth and calleth that bell. To sleep, to dreams, O little lambs, it seemeth to call. Nestle down close, fold your hands and shut your dear eyes. We are off and away to Shut-eye Town. Ting-long, ting-along, ting-long. To sleep, to dreams, O little cosset lambs. And now the conductor calleth out in turn. All aboard, he calleth. All aboard for Shut-eye Town, he calleth in a kindly tone. But hark ye, dear my soul, make thou no haste, there is room for all. Here is a cosy little car for you. How like your cradle it is, for it is snug and warm, and it rocketh this way and that way, this way and that way, all night long, and its pillows caress you tenderly. So step into the pretty nest, and in it speed to Shut-eye Town. Toot toot! That is the whistle. It soundeth twice, but it must sound again before the train can start. Now you have nestled down, and your dear hands are folded. Let your 2 eyes be folded too, my sweet, for in a moment you shall be rocked away and away, away into the golden mists of Balau. Ting-long, ting-along, ting-long. All aboard! Toot, toot, toot. And so my little golden apple is off and away for Shut-eye Town. Slowly moveth the train, yet faster by degrees. Your hands are folded, my beloved, and your dear eyes they are closed, and yet you see the beauteous sights that skirt the journey through the mists of Balau. And it is rock away, rock away, rock away, that your speeding cradle goes. Rock away, rock away, rock away, through the golden glories that lie in the path that leadeth to Shut-eye Town. Toot, toot! So crieth the whistle, and it is down breaks, for here we are at Ginkville. And every little one knoweth that pleasant waking place where mother with her gentle hands holdeth the gracious cup to her sleepy darling's lips. Ting-long, ting-along, ting-long. And off is the train again, and swifter it speedeth. Oh, I am sure no other train speedeth half so swiftly. The sights my dear one sees, I cannot tell of them. One must see those beauteous sights to know how wonderful they are. Shug chug, shug chug, shug chug. On and on and on the locomotive proudly whirleth the train. Ding-long, ding-along, ding-long. The bell calleth anon, but fainter and ever more fainter, and fainter and fainter groweth that other calling, toot, 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 till finally I know that in that shut-eye town afar my dear one dreameth the dreams of Balau. This was the bedtime tale which I was wont to tell our little Mistress Merciless, and at its end I looked upon her face to see it calm and beautiful in sleep. Then was I wont to kneel beside her little bed and fold my two hands, thus, and let my heart call to the host invisible, O guardian angels of this little child, hold her in thy keeping from all the perils of darkness and the night. O sovereign shepherd, cherish thy little lamb in mine, and, Holy Mother, fold her to thy bosom and thy love. But give her back to me, when morning cometh, restore ye unto me my little one. But once she came not back. She had spoken much of Master Sweetheart, and of that land of ever plaisance, whither he had gone. And she was not afeard to make the journey alone. So once upon a time when our little Mistress Merciless bade us good-bye, and went away forever, we knew that it were better so, for she was lonely here, and without her that far distant country whither she journeyed were not content. Though our hearts were like to break for love of her, we knew that it were better so. The tale is told, for it were not seemly to speak all the things that are in one's heart when one hath to say of a much beloved child, whose life here hath been shortened so that, in God's wisdom and kindness, her life shall be longer in that garden that bloometh far away. About me are scattered the toys she loved, and the doll beautiful hath come down all battered and grim, yet, oh, so very precious to me. From those distant years, yonder fareth the Queen of Sheba in her service as handmaiden unto me and mine, gaunt and doleful-eyed, yet stanch and sturdy as of old. The garden lieth under the Christmas snow, the garden where ghosts of trees wave their arms and moan over the graves of flowers. The once gracious arbor is crippled now with the infirmities of age. The siege of restfulness fast sinketh into decay, and long, oh, long ago did that bird joyous carol forth his last sweet song in the garden that was once so passing fair. And amid it all, this heartache and the loneliness which the years have brought, cometh my Christmas gift today, the solace of a vision of that country whither she, our little Mistress Merciless, hath gone, a glimpse of that far-off land of ever plaisance. End of Mistress Merciless.
Bethlehem Town by Eugene Field. Read for LibriVox.org by Betty B. As I was going to Bethlehem Town, upon the earth I cast me down, all underneath a little tree that whispered in this wise to me, "Oh, I shall stand on Calvary, and bear what burthen saveth thee." As up I fared to Bethlehem Town, I met a shepherd coming down, and thus he quoth, "A wondrous sight hath spread before mine eyes this night, an angel host most fair to see, that sung full sweetly of a tree, that shall uplift on Calvary what burthen saveth you and me." And as I gat to Bethlehem Town, lo, wise men came that bore a crown. "Is there," cried I, "in Bethlehem, a king shall wear this diadem?" "Good sooth," they quoth, "and it is he that shall be lifted on the tree, and freely shed on Calvary what blood redeemeth us and thee." Unto a child in Bethlehem Town the wise men came and brought the crown, and while the infant smiling slept, upon their knees they fell and wept. But, with her babe upon her knee, naught recked that mother of the tree, that should uplift on Calvary what burthen saveth all and me. Again I walk in Bethlehem town, and think on him that wears the crown. I may not kiss his feet again, nor worship him as did I then. My King hath died upon the tree, and hath outpoured on Calvary what blood redeemeth you and me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The First Christmas Tree of Christmas Tales and Christmas Verse. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Kangaroo. Christmas Tales and Christmas Verse by Eugene Field. The First Christmas Tree. Once upon a time, the forest was in a great commotion. Early in the evening, the wise old cedars had shaken their heads ominously and predicted strange things. They had lived in the forest many, many years, but never had they seen such marvelous sights as were to be seen now in the sky, and upon the hills, and in the distant village. "Pray tell us what you see," pleaded a little vine. "We who are not as tall as you can behold none of these wonderful things. Describe them to us, that we may enjoy them with you." "I am filled with such amazement," said one of the cedars, "that I can hardly speak. The whole sky seems to be aflame, and the stars appear to be dancing among the clouds. Angels walk down from heaven to the earth, and enter the village or talk with the shepherds upon the hills." The vine listened in mute astonishment. Such things never before had happened. The vine trembled with excitement. Its nearest neighbor was a tiny tree so small it scarcely ever was noticed. Yet it was a very beautiful little tree, and the vines and ferns and mosses and other humble residents of the forest loved it dearly. "How I should like to see the angels," sighed the little tree. "And how should I like to see the stars dancing among the clouds? It must be very beautiful." As the vine and the little tree talked of these things, the cedars watched with an increasing interest the wonderful scenes over and beyond the confines of the forest. Presently they thought they heard music, and they were not mistaken, for soon the whole air was full of the sweetest harmonies ever heard upon earth. "What beautiful music!" cried the little tree. "I wonder whence it comes." "The angels are singing," said a cedar, "for none but angels could make such sweet music." "But the stars are singing too," said another cedar. "Yes, and the shepherds on the hills join in the song, and what a strangely glorious song it is." The trees listened to the singing, but they did not understand its meaning. It seemed to be an anthem, and it was of a child that had been born. But further than this they did not understand. The strange and glorious song continued all the night, and all that night the angels walked to and fro, and the shepherd folk talked with the angels, and the stars danced and caroled in high heaven. And it was nearly morning when the cedars cried out, "They are coming to the forest! The angels are coming to the forest!" And surely enough, this was true. The vine and the little tree were very terrified, and they begged their older and stronger neighbors to protect them from harm. But the cedars were too busy with their own fears to pay any heed to the faint pleadings of the humble vine and the little tree. The angels came into the forest, singing the same glorious anthem about the child, and the stars sang in chorus with them, until every part of the woods rang with echoes of that wondrous song. There was nothing in the appearance of this angel host to inspire fear. They were clad all in white, and there were crowns upon their fair heads, and golden harps in their hands. Love, hope, charity, compassion, and joy beamed from their beautiful faces, and their presence seemed to fill the forest with a divine peace. The angels came through the forest to where the little tree stood, and gathering around it, they touched it with their hands, and kissed its little branches, and sang even more sweetly than before. And their song was about the child, the child, the child who had been born. Then the stars came down from the skies and danced and hung upon the branches of the tree, and they too sang that song, the song of the child. And all the other trees and the vines and the ferns and the mosses beheld in wonder, nor could they understand why all these things were being done, and why the succeeding honor should be shown the little tree. When the morning came, the angels left the forest, all but one angel, who remained behind and lingered near the little tree. Then a cedar asked, "Why do you tarry with us, holy angel?" And the angel answered, "I stay to guard this little tree, for it is sacred, and no harm shall come to it." The little tree felt quite relieved by this assurance, and it held up its head more confidently than ever before. And how it thrived and grew, and waxed in strength and beauty! The cedar said they never had seen the like. The sun seemed to lavish its choicest rays upon the little tree. Heaven dropped its sweetest dew upon it. And the winds never came to the forest that they did not forget their rude manners and linger to kiss the little tree and sing it their prettiest songs. No danger ever menaced it, no harm threatened, for the angel never slept through the day and through the night, and the angel watched the little tree and protected it from all evil. Oftentimes the trees talked with the angel, but of course they understood little of what he said, for he spoke always of the child who was to become the master, and always when thus he talked, he caressed his little tree, and stroked its branches and leaves, and moistened them with his tears. It all was so very strange that none in the forest could understand. So the years passed, the angel watching his blooming charge. Sometimes the beasts strayed toward the little tree and threatened to devour its tender foliage. Sometimes the woodman came with his axe, intent upon hewing down the straight and comely thing. Sometimes the hot, consuming breath of drought swept from the south and sought to blight the forest and all its verdure. The angel kept them from the little tree. Serene and beautiful it grew, until now it was no longer a little tree, but the pride and glory of the forest. One day the tree heard someone coming through the forest. Hitherto the angel had hastened to its side when men approached, but now the angel strode away and stood under the cedars yonder. "Dear angel," cried the tree, "can you not hear the footsteps of one approaching? Why do you leave me?" "Have no fear," said the angel, "for he who comes is the master." The master came to the tree and beheld it. He placed his hands upon its smooth trunk and branches, and the tree was thrilled with a strange and glorious delight. Then he stooped and kissed the tree, and then he turned and went away. Many times after that, the master came to the forest, and when he came, it always was to where the tree stood. Many times he rested beneath the tree and enjoyed the shade of its foliage, and listened to the music of the wind as it swept through the rustling leaves. Many times he slept there, and the tree watched over him, and the forest was still, and all its voices were hushed, and the angel hovered near like a faithful sentinel. Ever and anon men came with the master to the forest, and sat with him in the shade of the tree, and talked with him of matters which the tree could never understand. Only it heard that the talk was of love and charity and gentleness, and it saw that the master was beloved and venerated by the others. It heard them tell of the master's goodness and humility, how he had healed the sick and raised the dead and bestowed inestimable blessings wherever he walked. And the tree loved the master for his beauty and his goodness, and when he came to the forest, it was full of joy. But when he came not, it was sad. And the other trees of the forest joined in its happiness and its sorrow, for they too loved the master, and the angel always hovered near. The master came out one night alone into the forest, and his face was pale with anguish and wet with tears. And he fell upon his knees and prayed. The tree heard him, and the forest was all still, as if it were standing in the presence of death. And when the morning came, lo, the angel had gone. Then there was a great confusion in the forest. There was a sound of rude voices, and a clashing of swords and staves. Strange men appeared, uttering loud oaths and cruel threats, and the tree was filled with terror. It called aloud for the angel, but the angel came not. Alas, cried the vine, they have come to destroy the tree, the pride and glory of the forest. The forest was sorely agitated, but it was in vain. The strange men plied their axes with cruel vigor, and the tree was hewn to the ground. Its beautiful branches were cut away and cast aside, and its soft, thick foliage was strewn to the tenderer mercies of the winds. They are killing me, cried the tree. Why is not the angel here to protect me? But no one heard the piteous cry. None but the other trees in the forest. And they wept, and the little vine wept too. Then the cruel men dragged the despoiled and hewn tree from the forest, and the forest saw that beauteous thing no more. But the night wind that swept down from the city of the great king that night to ruffle the bosom of distant Galilee tarried in the forest a while to say that it had seen that day a cross upraised on Calvary, the tree on which was stretched the body of the dying master. End of the first Christmas tree. Recording by Kangaroo. Star of the East by Eugene Field. Read for LibriVox.org by Kangaroo. Star of the East that long ago brought wise men on their way, where angels singing to and fro the child of Bethlehem lay. Above that Syrian hill afar, thou shinest out tonight, O star, star of the East. The night were drear, but for the tender grace that thy glory comes to cheer earth's loneliest, darkest place. For by that charity we see where there is hope for all and me. Star of the East, show us the way in wisdom undefiled, to seek that manger out and lay our gifts before the child, to bring our hearts and offer them unto the King in Bethlehem. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. End of Christmas Tales and Christmas Verse by Eugene Field.